morning, John. You've got your camera on, sweetheart. Right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this virtual meeting of Cornwall Council's Neighbourhoods Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Before consideration of today's business, I will outline the protocols for the meeting. Today's meeting is being live streamed to the public via Microsoft Teams and is also being recorded. When members are speaking, they may choose to use their video. If the Council's live stream fails during the meeting and we cannot share the proceedings, I will adjourn the meeting so that access can be restored. If the issue cannot be resolved, I will halt the meeting and the remaining business will be concluded at a future date. If a member experiences a technical issue, I will adjourn for a short period to try and re-establish their connection. Members wishing to speak or ask a question should indicate by typing an X in the chat box. As I call members to speak, I will remind you to switch on your microphone, and if for some reason you cannot be heard, the Democratic officer will advise you. All votes will be taken using a roll call procedure. The Democratic officer will read out the recommendation and the name of the proposer and seconder, and will then call each committee member's name in turn. You should confirm your name and advise whether you vote in favour or against the recommendation, or whether you wish to abstain from the vote. The Democratic officer will then count the votes and advise the result accordingly, i.e. so many number of votes for and so many numbers of votes against, and what the result is. Where a member has declared a non-registerable interest, a disclosable pecuniary interest, or an interest by virtue of any trade union membership in a matter, they must leave the virtual meeting. Their departure will be confirmed and they will be invited to rejoin the meeting at the appropriate time. So that's the end of my bit of blurb. So we now start the business of the meeting, and I'm going to ask the Democratic Services Officer to confirm the members and the officers that are here in attendance.
Thank you, Chairman. So committee members, I will now call your name. Please confirm your name and your electoral division, please. So first of all, Councillor Martin Alvey.
So Martin Alvey, Cornwall Councillor for Field and Plain, please.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Brown.
Councillor Malcolm Brown, Councillor for St Austell, Bethel.
Thank you. Councillor Nikki Chopak.
Councillor Nikki Chopak, area Poundstock. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dominic Fairman.
Councillor Dominic Fairman, Division St Breward and St F.
Thank you. Councillor John Fitter.
Councillor John Fitter, Colin and St Morgan.
Thank you. Councillor Pauline Giles.
Councillor Pauline Giles, St Blasey.
Councillor Fred Greenslade. Councillor Fred Greenslade.
Good morning, Councillor Fred Greenslade, St Dennis and Nanpian Division.
Thank you. Councillor Jane Kirkham.
Good morning, Councillor Kirkham, Falmouth Smithick Division, substituting for Councillor Olivier.
Thank you. Councillor Steve Knightley.
Stephen Knightley, Divisions Weybridge East.
Thank you. Councillor Matt Luke.
Councillor Matt Luke, Division Penwithwick and Bescopper.
Thank you. Councillor Carolyn Rule.
Carolyn Rule, Councillor for Mullion and Great Ruin.
Councillor John Simmons.
Yes, thank you, Councillor John Simmons, Penryn East and Myler.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Thomas. Councillor Ian Thomas.
You're muted.
Apologies. Good morning. Ian Thomas, Cornwall Councillor, Redruth South.
Thank you. Councillor Mike Thomas.
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Mike Thomas, Houston North.
Thank you. And Councillor Kevin Towell.
Councillor Kevin Towell, Newquay Treferris.
Thank you. I'd just like to announce the meeting as well that the Cabinet members who are in attendance today are Councillor Edwina Hannaford. She's the portfolio holder for climate change and neighbourhoods. And also we have Councillor Rob Nolan, who's the portfolio holder for environment and public protection. Now I'd just like to run through and advise the officers who are in attendance at the meeting today. So they're all from the Neighbourhoods Directorate of Cornwall Council. To start off, we have Sophie Hosking, who's the Strategic Director for Neighbourhoods. From Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service, we have Mark Hewitt, who's the Interim Chief Fire Officer. We also have Vicky Wallins Hancock, who's the Assistant Chief Officer, Head of Service Development and Improvement. From Neighbourhoods and Public Protection, we have Alan Hampshire. He's the Service Director, Neighbourhoods and Public Protection. We also have Stuart Benson. He's the Head of Service Business Standards and Registration. We also have Nick Kelly. He's Food and Health and Safety Manager. Jane Tomlinson, who's Trading Standards Team Manager, Quality Standards and Animal Health. And Tim Bage, who's Port Health Manager. From the Community Service, we have Simon Mould, who's the Interim Service Director of Communities. We have Erica Sorensen, who's the Amethyst Strategic Intelligence Manager. And from around 12 o'clock today, we'll have Kim Hager, who's the Joint Commissioning Manager. From Finance, we have Tracy Stepney, who's the Strategic Finance Manager. And lastly, from Democratic Services, we have myself, Jo Heather. I'm the Democratic and Governance Officer supporting the meeting today. And we also have my colleague, Leanne Martin, who's also a Democratic and Governance Officer, and she's producing the meeting today. Back to you, Chairman.
Thank you, Jo. That's lovely to know everybody's here, and welcome to everybody. Can I start off on the agenda then? The first item is apologies for absence. I understand we've got apologies from Cornelius, who's not very well, and that Jane Kirkham is substituting for him. And also Adam Painter has sent his apologies. There's nothing on the agenda actually for him, and obviously he's quite busy as well with other things. So he sent his apologies. Are there any other apologies, please?
Councillor All, just to confirm for the benefit of the live stream that it's Councillor Cornelius Olivier who's given apologies, just to confirm his surname.
Thank you. Are there any other apologies? No? Right, Alan, you've got your video on, Alan Hampshire. Right, so declarations of interest, please. Do we have anybody that wants to make any declarations of interest, any members of this committee? If you could indicate with an X in the box, and then we can bring you in if there are anybody. So anybody wanting to make a declaration of interest in any item on this agenda, please. No, nothing's come through. So I'll move on to the minutes then. The minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of March. Just for accuracy, this is pages 1 to 19. I won't go through them because you will all have read them. But could I have a proposer that those minutes are a true record of that meeting, please?
I vote there. Pauline Giles.
Oh, thank you very much, Pauline. And a seconder for that, please. Steve Knightley. I think Steve has put his hand up. So if we take Pauline as the proposer and Steve as the seconder for the minutes being an accurate item, and I'll hand over to Jo, please, our Democratic officer, who's going to take us through the voting procedure, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So as the Chairman advised, the recommendation is that the minutes of the last meeting on 5th of March 2020 be approved and signed off by the Chairman. I will now call out committee members' name in turn because the vote will be taken by a roll call. Please will you confirm your name and advise whether you vote in favour or against the recommendation, or whether you wish to abstain from the vote. I will then count the votes and advise the result accordingly. So if I could start off, please, with Councillor Alvey.
4.
Councillor Alvey, please could you state your name?
Oh, sorry, is this new? Councillor Alvey, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Councillor Malcolm Brown, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Chopak. Councillor Chopak? We'll come back to Councillor Chopak. Councillor Fairman.
Councillor Fairman, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Fitter.
Councillor Fitter, 4.
Councillor Giles.
Councillor Giles, 4.
Councillor Greenslade.
Fred Greenslade, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Knightley.
Councillor Knightley, 4.
Councillor Luke.
Councillor Luke, 4.
you. Councillor Kirkham.
Jane Kirkham abstaining due to absence.
Thank you. Councillor Rule.
4.
Oh, Councillor Rule, could you just confirm your name? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Carolyn Rule, 4.
Councillor Simmons.
Yes, Councillor Simmons, 4.
Councillor Ian Thomas.
Councillor Ian Thomas, 4.
Councillor Mike Thomas.
Councillor Mike Thomas, 4.
Councillor Towell.
Councillor Towell, 4.
And if I could just go back to Councillor Chopak, are you on the line?
Yeah, sorry, I had to take a call. That's the difficulties with Zoom meetings, isn't it? Yes, 4, sorry.
Thank you. So, Chairman, I can confirm that the result of the vote is as follows, that we have 13 votes in favour and we have 1 abstention.
Thank you very much.
So that means that was carried.
Lovely, thank you for that. Now moving on to the next item, item 4 on the agenda, which is public questions. Democratic Services Officer, have we had any public questions, please?
Councillor Chairman, no, we haven't. Can I just go back to the previous vote? Sorry, I was using a spreadsheet. I was using technology using a spreadsheet, and I hadn't clicked in the right box, so it was 14 votes for and 1 abstention.
Right,
so that gives us the 15 members. And no, we haven't had any public questions.
Thank you very much. Right, so now we move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the committee work programme. We did a lot of work on this recently, so Joe, I wonder if you could lead us through that one, please.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. So committee members will recall that a work programme development event took place on the 23rd of June 2020 to consider and determine the committee's work items for the remainder of this administration. The draft work programme in the agenda pack, starting at page 29, was produced following these discussions. The work programme contains details of the work that the committee will undertake for the remainder of the administration. It is divided into 4 ways of working. Items for formal meetings, 1 inquiry, which is the Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service Risk-Based Inspection Programme inquiry, items for informal committee development information sessions, and items where briefing notes will be circulated to committee members with the opportunity provided to ask questions to a technical officer. So that the committee's work can remain as transparent to the public as it is able to be, where possible, presentation slides on the informal committee development information sessions and also the briefing notes and the work programme itself will be deposited into a library that both members and the public will be able to access. The link to the library is provided on the committee's front web page on the council's website as part of the narrative regarding the purpose of the committee. The recommendations in the report are as detailed in the report on page 20 and 21 of the agenda pack, i.e. that the committee work programme is approved for the remainder of the administration. If there is a need to make any amendments to it before the end of the administration, there is a recommendation that the determination of any such amendments are delegated by the committee to the chairman in consultation with the vice chairman, strategic director, Neighbourhoods, and myself as the Democratic and Governance Officer supporting the committee. The last recommendation is the work programme is circulated to committee members by email on a monthly basis. So happy to answer any questions, Chairman.
Has anybody got any questions? Please, if you have, can you put an X in the meeting chat box? No, nobody's indicated. So can I please have a proposer and a seconder for accepting the work programme, please, the committee work programme?
Happy to propose it, Carolyn. Ian Thomas.
Sorry, everybody, can you just put an X in the box, please? Because I can't hear. Mike Thomas is proposing, that's brilliant. And I think it was Ian Thomas was seconding.
Yes, happy to do that, Carolyn.
Right, thank you very much for that. So can I hand over to Joe, Democratic Services Officer, please, to take us through that vote again?
So once again, members, this will be on a roll call for the vote. As before, I will call out your names in turn. Please confirm your name and advise whether you wish to vote in favour or against the recommendations, or whether you wish to abstain from the vote. I'll then count the votes and advise the result accordingly. So if we could start again with Councillor Alvey, please.
Sir Martin Alvey, 4.
Thank you. Councillor Malcolm Brown.
Malcolm Brown, 4.
You. Councillor Chopak.
Nikki Chopak, 4.
Councillor Fairman.
Dominic Fairman, 4.
Councillor Fitter. Councillor Fitter.
John Fitter 4.
Thank you. Councillor Giles.
Councillor Giles 4.
Thank you. Councillor Greenslade.
Fred Greenslade 4.
Thank you. Councillor Knightley.
Stephen Knightley 4.
Councillor Luke.
Matt Luke 4.
Councillor Kirkham.
Jane Kirkham 4.
Thank you. Councillor Rule.
Carolyn Rule 4.
Councillor Simmons.
Yes, John Simmons 4.
Councillor Ian Thomas.
Ian Thomas 4.
Councillor Mike Thomas.
Councillor Mike Thomas 4.
And Councillor Kevin Towell.
Councillor Towell 4.
Thank you, members. Chairman, I can confirm the vote as follows. There were 15 votes in favour, so that's a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much, and thank you, colleagues. We now move on to item 6 on the agenda, and just to let you know, I will be having a break at the end of this one. You know, we have the two 10-minute breaks during the meeting. So once this item is over, we will have the first comfort break. So we're now going into item 6, which is the Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service Annual Assurance Statement. And I think Vicky Wallens-Hancock is going to take us through this. So can I hand over to Vicky, please?
Good morning, committee members. My name's Vicky Wallens-Hancock and I'm the Assistant Chief Officer of Cornwall Fire and Rescue Service. I will be sharing my screen with you with a very brief presentation regarding our annual assurance statement for 2019-20. Okay.
Yes, it's there.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor Rule. Within your report packs, this item starts on page 45 with a recommendation to the Cabinet Member for Environment and Public Protection to approve the annual assurance statement for publication. The actual annual assurance statement document itself starts on page 50 in your report pack. I've got a very, very brief few slides just outlining some of the highlights without repeating what is the content of your report packs. The committee will be familiar with our annual assurance statement. It is our statutory duty to provide one of these each year. And as outlined in the report, the purpose of the annual assurance statement is a backward look over year one of our IRMP for 2019-20 to provide assurance regarding financial governance and operational matters. I've got a couple of slides. The first one here is just around our key successes that are outlined through the report. So these key headlines include positive impact of prevention-based activities, which include exceeding our home fire safety check figures for that particular year, and a reduction in accidental dwelling fires, which is a real positive. We are continuing targeting our protection activities against our risk-based inspection programme, and we have particular focus on local-based risks such as farms. And as a result of our continued work, non-domestic fires have come in under target for 2019-20. We are really proud of our excellent on-call availability, one of, if not the best nationally, with really good figures against that. And we've also seen really good improvements over the year of our whole time turnout times, which is testament to our management teams that have worked really hard to improve those figures. We've put some real good investment throughout the year in our equipment and vehicles. They've been really well received by our staff, and we've seen brand new fire kit and also 15 brand new fire appliances over 19-20, which continue to be rolled out now. We've made excellent progress to get the service ready for the new National Emergency Services Network and have completed phase 1 during 19-20. We've continued to expand our CCTV and we've now got 128 cameras across 13 Cornish towns that we monitor. And we've a continued focus on our community engagement and equality and diversity, with a real emphasis on our people, with excellent support groups in place, and we've got a real focus on the mental health of our staff, and we really pride ourselves on the support mechanisms we have in place for our staff. We've continued to progress against the HMI 5 areas of concern and continued improvement in this area, and we've been able to demonstrate areas of those being signed off over the year. As a result of that work as well, we've got brand new quality assurance framework in place, so we're able to focus on improvement and organisational learning, and we regularly meet and look at our continued improvement within the service, which quite nicely moves me into identified improvements throughout the year. One of the key changes to the document you will see this year is our real focus on external scrutiny and the continuous learning. We've really built on the section of the report that outlines what internal and external scrutiny that we have in place. Over the last 12 months, we've seen a number of audits or inspections, which you will see listed on the screen on the left-hand side, each of which has resulted in actions that are built into our existing plans to ensure we continually improve. The pages of your report explains these and the outcomes that have been delivered throughout the year. Joe mentioned earlier, as part of the work programme, the inquiry later this year looking at our risk-based inspection programme, and that was as a result of our LGA protection peer review last year. So we thank members for their extended scrutiny in this area, which will really help us improve. You're all familiar with the HMI CFRS, the Home Office inspection. We would have been continuing this inspection towards the end of last year, but due to COVID, it was delayed and the inspectorate postponed all of their activity. We've now been informed that they are back up and running. They are having an additional focus later this year on the impact of COVID on services, and they are also going to start arranging visits back to the services that had causes for concern raised through their inspections. So we will be expecting a visit at some point later this year. They've already started to collect data again, and they are resuming business as usual. And we'll be looking at our next main inspection around spring, summertime next year. In relation to our performance, you've got a detailed performance report within the annual assurance statement, and there has been some areas outlined for improvement in there, and I'll just talk through a few of those briefly. So deliberate fires, we did see underperformance against our target for this last year, and we are working really closely with the police and sharing our data and undertaking some joint work with them. We do have a project scheduled in for this year to look at what are the motivations and behaviours that sit behind arson, really, so we can identify some appropriate interventions to put into place, and that work will start later this year. In relation to our response standards, we didn't meet these targets last year, and the committee assisted us in the development of new standards to address some of those challenges, particularly faced by our on-call staff in meeting their attendance times. These new response standards were signed off at the end of last year, and they were implemented on the 1st of April and will be monitored continuously through the year, and members will see the reports on these through future meetings. Sickness, we undertake regular personnel reviews for all of our staff, particularly those that are on long-term sickness. We do have some long-term cases which are swaying our figures, so we are working really closely with those individuals to come to some positive resolutions which will improve our sickness figures moving forward. And then in relation to our budget, work is being undertaken to address the budget challenges we've seen over the last 12 months, and that includes a full review of our income generation activities which have fallen under target. So it's a very, very brief whiz through. You will see the main detail of everything within your report pack. Thank you very much for your time. I've tried to keep that brief. And we have Chief Fire Officer Mark Hewitt here with us to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. That was very helpful, and the report is really easy to read too. So well done on the formatting of that. Right, colleagues. Hello, Mark. Did you want to say anything before we go to questions, Mark?
Yes, good morning, Councillor Rawn, good morning, committee members, and just my thanks to Vicky for the presentation and certainly the team for pulling together the report that you've just alluded to. So hopefully it's sort of presented a little bit different this year, certainly sort of learning on where we've been, and now available for any questions if there are any.
Thank you. Yes, there are several. Right, colleagues, we did request some questions to come in before the meeting. So I've got several of you who've indicated you want to ask a question now, which is brilliant as well. But I'll bring in Dominic first because he actually gave his questions in beforehand. So if we can run through Dominic, that's Councillor Fairman's questions first, and then I've got Mike Thomas, Pauline Giles, and Martin Alvey. So I'll do Dominic's questions first, if I may, please.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, Mark. Congratulations to you and Vicky on all the improvements highlighted in the report. I thought there's some really good achievements there over the year, and so congratulations on those. My first question pertains to fires in the home, which is covered on page 56 of the report. So these are obviously devastating incidents, I should imagine, to communities and to firefighters when they, especially the fatalities. And the thing that jumped out at me was that less than half of them had smoke alarms present in the homes. So there's obviously scope there for saving some, residents' lives if we could just get some more engagement around smoke alarms. So I know that you do risk assessments and you do a lot of home checks for vulnerable people and people outside the 10-minute zone for responses. So I'm just wondering whether the data is, once you've analysed your fatal and serious injury fires, are we reaching all the people we need to about the smoke alarm message? And should we be doing broader campaigning rather than targeting? I know, for instance, from earlier reports that social housing is a particular risk for fires, but I imagine all our social housing has fire alarms. So I'm just wondering about for the broader public.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Fairman. And yeah, what you sort of picked up there is a very key message and certainly a statutory function for the Fire and Rescue Service.